So I'm starting a little project today where I'm going to put a brick retaining wall in a half circle here. It's going to be a planter area up there by the porch, and then this little fire pit here, I'm going to center it in the middle here with circular pavers. I've got a little skid steer. I'm going to kick off some excavating, get some dirt moved around, and you'll see the project progress as I go through it.
So after doing as much as I could with the skid steer, everything else was by hand. I kind of cleared the area out as you saw in the previous video, a portion of the video, raking and moving dirt around, and then started digging the footing with just a pick and a flat shovel. This being the first time I've ever done this, I was just going by what I saw on other YouTube videos, and here I'm just basically trying to figure out how everything's going to come together. I know more experienced masons would probably just tape measure it out and figure out that, but I'm more of a visual person, and I decided to lay all the brick in there and see how they'd lay before I started actually pouring concrete. Found a few spots that I needed to dig down a little bit and level out a little more, and then just continued to verify the layout of the brick themselves. So you might be able to see that thin line down at the bottom of my footer. That was the rebar that I put down there just for extra support on the cement when it dried. I just put a single strand all the way around the bottom of the footing. And at this point, I'm just mixing up cement, roughly 2 to 3 bags per serving that I'm able to get into that mixer, and kind of smoothing it out a little bit. As ultimately at this point, I started off with fairly level ground that I checked with my 4-foot level that I have. As far as now, I'm just smoothing out the concrete to place brick on top, the block that I'm using, and I can use mortar when I place the block on top of the concrete to make sure it's level when I get to that point. So I did look at the concrete and make sure, like right there, you just saw me holding the level over the concrete as it was drying just to see where I was at. but overall it's the mortar will help you get the brick to the point that it's level all the way across as you go. So at this point I'm putting mortar on the first brick, first block, and fixing to lay it down in there. And this begins my wall. There's no going back now. So as you can see, I'm laying a couple of rows of mortar and placing the block on top of them. Checking with my level to make sure it's level. If it's not, I use my rubber mallet to hammer one side or the other down, depending on what's off. And just keep going. Get the bottom row good like that, and it'll make the top rows so much easier. Just keep doing it as you go.
Alright, so I've finished off the first row. Got some mortar made up for the second row, and I've started on it. Everything's staying level. Once I get to this point right here, I've got this rebar I'm going to throw in there, there, and there. I've already got one down there. I'm going to be doing roughly 4 to 5 rows around the middle here. It's going to all go up 4 or 5 rows at this end, but down at this far end I'm going to kind of taper it off with the terrain. So that's as high as it'll get right there, and I'll build 3 rows somewhere in here and 4 in there. I'm going to put you on a tripod and serve up the second row. Well, one thing I want to state, I did pick up this mixer from Harbor Freight. So far it's been really great. The only issue I had was putting it together. The instructions, as mentioned in another YouTube video I watched, are very limited. So if you know, if you're handy with putting things together and figuring things out, it's definitely a helpful on this. But it's doing a great job mixing up these bags. It's takes 3 bags max of the 60-pound bags of concrete. That was all I put in it. I was doing 2 bags at a time. I tried 3 for the last serving, and it was a little difficult for it seemed like. And then I could probably take 2 bags of the mortar here. I've only been doing 1 at a time because I don't want it to dry out on me. Check it out. I decided to get it instead of renting one because renting is $50 a day. I'm not sure how long I'd be needing it to do this. It's going to be at least a day or 2, and then I plan on doing another wall in my front yard. So having that for another 2 or 3 days would be more than I paid for it, and I can turn around and sell it in the end for maybe $100 and still make money off it as far as what I would have paid for renting.
And here goes the second row.
Alright, so I did another row and a half off camera because I know you guys get bored watching the speedy frame. So this is where I'm at right now. I've got 5 more blocks to finish this row. As I mentioned, I'm kind of tapering it off with the hillside. And I'm gonna move over. I just ran out of mortar, so I'm gonna stop right there, switch gears to lay the foundation for the rest of this wall here. I had, as I mentioned before, step it up. So my idea is to lay the foundation out and over to where the level of this brick right here will meet the bottom of where the brick up on the next level is going to sit, and then it'll all just come across. That's my thought pattern anyway. We'll see how that works. I'll put you on camera for that, and then probably put you on camera again when I do the final fifth level, which is just one after this. I also still need to pour some concrete down these retaining wall rebar spots that I've got on here. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That being the furthest out. And after that, I'm going to put a little step seat here with more masonry coming, more mason blocks coming out. So I've still got a long way to go. I'm going to be texturing the front side of the wall and painting it similar to what I have over on that wall over there that I did not do. And on the back here, I've got a lot of, because the wall's curved, I've got to fill in these back spots here with some mortar, kind of increase the strength of the wall.
So here I am back mixing and pouring some concrete for that last footing on that side of the wall. Then I switched over to mortar and doing the last row. Yeah, finally. Well, the last row on this part of the wall. I still have more to go. So just like on the first part of the wall, I'm going to be laying down little rows of mortar for the block to be placed on. I'm going to be using my level and my rubber mallet and kind of hammering the block down, making sure it's level, moving on to the next one, just repeating the process over and over again.
All right, so a new day, some new tasks to get done. I'm up as high as I want. Got 5 rows on my wall here. I kind of cut it off over here just to go with the terrain. I'm gonna put some flat tops. Today, basically, I'm gonna put the concrete down the holes that have rebar, like this one and the other ones. I'll fill those with concrete. I'm going to top off the top of the wall with a flat brick, just mortaring it to the top of here and all the way down. And then on the back side, I'm going to fill in all these gaps due to the way the arch is. I'm going to fill them all in with mortar, so the back side will be all clean. And I'm also going to finish this portion of the wall here, which includes some drainage areas, since I will have the whole area filled with plants and soil when I'm done. Other than that, we've got a forecasted 98-degree day. Hopefully it's a dry heat, and very few clouds in the sky. It's a beautiful day. Let's do some concrete. Alright, so after that little speedy process, I filled it up all my areas with the rebar, right up above the rebar. And as you can see, I got all these topper blocks placed. I've just got them set up so I could figure the end cuts, and I got all my cuts done. I'm gonna get some mortar mixed after I'm done with this last little cement job here and start topping those off. So I've got a little drain pipe that I put down in there with a little screen over the end of it. I'm gonna pour some concrete down into this, and then we'll continue with the mortar on the bricks and finish this part of the wall up 2 more, and then we'll work on the mortar on the back of the wall, getting it all cleaned up. So just a little show and tell. This is what I found works best as far as the consistency of the concrete here. It's just got a little moisture to it, and it's actually starting to dry out on me pretty quick, but when it's in the mixer, that's how I tell when it looks kind of like oatmeal, the way I like oatmeal anyway, not too runny.
So you see me filling that hole there above the drainage tube with concrete. I had some broken pieces of block that I put down in there also, so it's not all concrete. But then I move over here and start finishing off the toppers, or the caps. I'm not sure the true terminology.
So I guess my battery ran out while I had music playing in my ears, so I didn't hear the beeping. But I got the cappers, the caps on, whatever they're called. And so the main portion of the wall is complete except for the stucco and painting. Now I'm going to finish this last part right here.
So one thing I wanted to point out real quick, in case you didn't read the description, the blocks are all multicolored because they're used. They have stucco from previous wall they were involved with. I shaved off all the old mortar and just reused the block. Saved a lot of money.
So since I have little experience in concrete and this wall was something new for me, I went ahead and paid somebody to put the little seat. I wanted a concrete seat around the base of the wall here so we can sit and enjoy the fire pit. So I'm paying somebody to put that in for me, and at the same time I can watch and learn how they do it. This guy is amazing. He's already got second level going. Welcome to another beautiful morning. So, just to update, we've got the seat coming in here. Next step, I'm gonna top it off with some dirt back in here and in the blocks. I'm gonna bring it up to about 3 inches below the top of the block here. So, and I'm gonna pack it all down, make sure it's nice and packed, and then we're going to frame up a little frame around the outside of the block here and pour concrete for the top of the seat. The seat is ready for concrete. I've got dirt packed tightly 3 inches below the top of the concrete block all the way around. To get that pack real well, as I was layering the dirt in, I would be using the big shovel to kind of chomp it down, make sure it's falling into all the spots, and for the littler spots and up against the edges where the shovel wouldn't reach, I was using this little gardening tool to tap on it. Initially when you go into it, it'll sink down real deep, but then after you get a good pack, you can feel the soil tightening up. And then ultimately I just walked on it. You can see my foot tracks there, just using my own body weight because I couldn't get my tamper in there. It's a little too small for that. So he formed it up, poured a nice little concrete bench here, just waiting for it to dry so he can work the form afterwards. Looking good. Alright, so as you can see, project is coming to a close. Guy did a great job on that seating step right there. All I need to do is finish stuccoing the top here down to right there, and then right now I'm putting in a little short 2-level wall just to kind of hold all the soil in here. I get a lot of runoff from this porch when it rains. I'm gonna put a little drain down at the bottom here and try to keep most of this soil from running down the slope. So today I'm gonna be putting in laying some concrete in this little footing, and I'll walk you through the last little part of this project, and we'll give you up close to the mortaring and the stuccoing, unlike the parts before where I was kind of rushed it through. But I'll give you, now that I have a little more experience putting mortar and stucco on, we'll show you what I've learned. Stick around. Alright, so first of all, I try to get this footing as level as possible. I'm going to be able to level it out even more with once I lay the concrete down and put the brick on the concrete. I'll definitely get a better level to it, but right now it's showing me that, of course, this end's a little higher. I don't want to dig too far down into where this concrete foundation already is, and I planned on putting more concrete down at this end anyway, because I've got to cover up a little drainage tube that I'm going to have go across there. So this is perfect right here where I'm going to lay this footing. I'm just going to go mix some concrete. I figure 3 bags of 80-pound bags should cover this little stretch here, because it's going to be a pretty thin down at that end and a little thicker down at this end. So here we got 3 80-pound bags of cement. Got my little drainage tube down there. I put a screen on the end of it here. Open the other end. I'm going to start piling bricks at this end, making sure they're level all the way up. Got my bricks standing by, all repurposed. Used to be a part of another brick wall that somebody else had. Cleaned them up and they're ready to go. Alright, so mortar on the end. I'm going to put it up against here. rubber mallet. Crossways and everything else is good. Well, watching a professional, well, when he was doing that little seat there, and then on videos, it doesn't seem like they put that much mortar on the bricks like I do, but I don't know. I guess I don't know what the difference would be as far as being too much. I mean, to me, I think that the more the merrier, right, when it comes to mortar, holding the wall together. So, but they're also probably going on budgetary as far as what they bid on making walls, and why use more than you're charging for, right? Alright, so the first row is laid. I'm gonna do the second row and show you a little closer up how I put the mortar on, how an amateur, I should say, puts the mortar on. And I've only got the experience of this wall here that I just did, so go easy on me, I'm still learning. Everyone's got to start from somewhere, right? Hey, this is exciting creation. Alright, so I got my mortar here. Just gotta keep mixing it a little, make sure it doesn't harden up on you. If it starts hardening up, you can always add a little water and make it last longer. So I saw a few videos that talk about grabbing it, slamming it down, and it should somewhat stay on your spoon there. I have it to the point where it works for me. I mean, I like the fact that you can slam it down and it'll stay on there for the most part. That helps, because then you take it over and just do it however you are comfortable. You see some people that can just whoosh, 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 whoosh. That's not me yet. Maybe down the road after 10-20 years, yeah, but right now it's good enough for me to just be able to get it on the brick. So right now I just go by I'm just gonna cover up a couple of bricks worth so I can do it more than one at a time. see, sometimes there is a little waste, but it's all paid for. You'll find you want to try to get it on even thickness here. A lot of it's going to get, and I'm going extra heavy right now just because I had to make a whole bag of mortar, and it's going to all get put in the tops of these blocks here, whatever I don't finish. So all right, now I've got a couple of blocks set. I'm going to start with this little block here. The idea is you don't want to put block on top of block. You want to put it over the junctions here. So since this is a whole block right here, I want to start off with this half block there. Then the next full block will go over this junction of these two blocks, and the next one will go over this junction, and vice versa on down the right. All right, so I'm gonna put some putty on top of this one, and we'll set it on the wall there. So for the ends, like I mentioned before, I see masons just put a little bit on the sides that are going to actually touch. I just cover the whole end here. That way, if I'm off a little bit on my measurements or levelness or anything, I'm going to have some points of contact on the brick. Alright, so, and then I don't know if I can do this one-handed or not, but we're gonna try. So then I'm gonna place this brick right there. I want to make sure that it's even with the brick below it. I can take a hammer, or I have a little mallet. Once I get my level here, level in my mallet, want to make sure it's level both directions. As you can see, that looks like it's pretty close enough for me, that is. And then go on this side. It looks like this end can come down just a tad. I'll push that down a little bit. You know what, I want to do the whole brick that way a little bit. And that is what you're looking for, bubble in the middle. And across there, it's good enough for me. Yeah, we'll tap on this side just to... Alright. And that is good. So, it's in place. I'll come back and I'll throw some mortar in there. Nothing's perfect in this business, or it doesn't have to be perfect, especially if you're stuccoing, because I found that stucco hides a lot of faults. So we're going to go ahead and butter up the end of this one, throw it up against there, and go through the whole process again. Alright, just talking about how warm it was in my camera. I'm using a GoPro 9, and it just heated up, got hot, and shut down on me. So I finished this top row. We were almost done. Finished it. It's all leveled out. I've got 5 spots for these top plates that I'm going to put on. I'll show you that as long as my camera doesn't turn off. And all you do for them is just basically put some mortar on all the spots up here like I was doing for the brick, and just lay them on the top over the mortar and level them out. That's it. All right. As I mentioned, we're going to start by laying some mortar out here.
And here we go, Super Speedo. It'd be nice if I could lay out the mortar like this in speedy time like that. It's amazing some of the videos I was watching, those expert masons, and how fast they could throw that stuff down. So this part of the process, as I mentioned, we're still just laying out the mortar on top, just like we were going to add another brick, but instead we're putting a cap on, and we're tapping it down, leveling it out, laying out some more mortar, and just continue with another cap, and just keep going. It's a simple process. Once you get the hang of it, it does go a little faster, but the end result is what I sit back every night out on my porch now and just stare at it thinking, wow, I made that. I love it.
So all I'm going to do now is take my little tool here and just run it along the outside of this to kind of clean off the excess. Alright, so I got a bucket of fresh stucco mixed up. Got a trowel, got my board here so I can carry it around. I'm going to be stuccoing the top, basically the last job here, the top of this and the new wall that I did yesterday, both sides and the top, and then down the top of that, and that's it. So the first thing you want to do is wet the area down. It helps the stucco adhere to it a little better. It's wet. One thing I've found on this stucco is initially I was worried about edges, but I found that because after you get this down and it dries a little bit, you let it get a little dryness to it, and then you go over it with a wet sponge. You can kind of mold it at that point to make it look a little better and fill in some of the spots that you missed on the edges. Is that this, I've already done both sides of this have already been stuccoed, so it's just a matter of blending it into the what has already been done. Alright, so here we are, throwing, just finished off the top here. Now I'm throwing it on the sides. To get on the sides, you gotta get it on your trowel like that, upside down, and then just put it up where you want to start it, and just kind of flow it on up. And some of it falls, some of it sticks. You want to make sure you wet the brick down like I mentioned earlier. I'm not going all the way down because I'm going to have soil in here, so it's just a waste of time for me to stucco it all the way down to the bottom.
So I will say that doing the vertical portions of the wall with stucco was probably the more difficult aspect of stuccoing, just because the stuff that didn't stick, and it was, probably a professional could tell you why. It was probably due to my mixture or something, or the surface, who knows. But overall, I'm happy with the way it came out in the end. And yeah, once we got that, I was pointing out here that it is dry to the touch for the most part. You could barely even push in on it. At that point is when you want to take a wet sponge and just start rubbing it down. With the wet sponge, you can pretty much mold the stucco to mold it into the older stucco that I had already done on both sides of this top portion of the wall. Just got to make sure you keep turning the sponge over. Once it fills up with sand, it won't do what you're trying to get it to do. You can see how some of the blemishes just disappear as you're rubbing over them. Once it fills up with sand on both sides, you want to take it and dip it down into a bucket and squeeze the sponge vigorously, getting all the sand particles out of it. I do recommend wearing gloves. The first time I did this other portion of the wall, I did not wear gloves. Here we are rinsing the sponge out. And that night, I couldn't put enough lotion on my hands to keep them from feeling like they were just turning to dust. This stuff dries out your skin super bad. And yeah, so after that, I'm wearing gloves anytime I deal with stucco. Must be the chemicals in it, but my skin definitely didn't like it. So you just keep doing this process over and over again. Dip it in the water, flip the sponge once you've filled up the one side, and just start working the other side, getting all the blemishes down and smoothing out the stucco. The stucco gives way pretty good, and you can kind of mold it back into even the dry stucco that you see there. It after it all dries, you can hardly. I couldn't tell that I did one side first one day and the other side the next day. Just keep rinsing that sponge out and repeat.
So here it is, the finished product. Good morning. So just a quick review on this planter retaining wall that I put together. First time any brickwork has ever been done with these hands. And I gotta say, fortunately with the help of YouTube and other internet ideas, it made it so easy to learn something new, learn a new skill. I I suggest that if you ever think about doing something on your own, you got even a creative spur of a bone in your body, do it. In this case, I was originally going to hire someone to do that retaining wall. We needed it done kind of quick because we procrastinated and wanted to have it done before our daughter's little wedding shower that she had in our backyard here. And the guy that we had brought out here did measurements, went home. We were waiting for his call. He finally called back and said, you know what, I have a problem. I can't do that in the time period that you want. So that was my cue from the universe that said, you got this. Fortunately, we have a bunch of used brick from a previous wall that our backyard used to be extended out quite a distance. The county said, hey, your wall goes out too far, it's too close to the property line, you got to get rid of it. So the previous owners had to get rid of a lot of the wall and rebuild it. So lucky me, I've got all this extra brick that I was able to use. There's still probably 500 bricks back there. The only effort I had to put into it was just clean the old mortar off it, which the cost of bricks nowadays, I had no problem with that. I saved a lot of money there. So anyway, I'm real happy with how it turned out, and the mixer that I use, I have a link down below, as I mentioned, did great. It's going to be ready for the next project I do out front. The little did some paver work after it. Take a look at a future video I'm going to have coming out for that. And I mean, it just totally changed the whole area in the backyard there, as you saw. You have a thought about doing something, being creative, go for it. Take care, y'all. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you like this content. Talk at you later. Bye.